Oh, wow. Big question. So, Filecoin Foundation, I work with the storage provider network, and we're really working towards building towards enterprise adoption for Filecoin, which means like, how do you work the full end-to-end solution for getting clients who have very high standards and expectations to get seamlessly and frictionlessly onto the Filecoin network?
Yeah, that was wonderful. And I also had the lucky chance to attend some bits of your talk, and I found it pretty interesting. I love I loved your outlook on AI. So if you could elaborate a bit more on that in a very concise manner for our audience.
There's so much we don't know about AI, but we do know that like decentralization is going to play a big role in it. And I just think that when I see the future of AI, especially in the United States, there's going to be regulation, and regulation is going to impact what you need to do in terms of like your training data or your what you generate. I think with a lot of specific industries, you're going to need to save that data, which is currently going into the trash bin, and then regulators are going to want access to it, and that's especially you think of health and safety. Like if you're doing food supply chain, you need to prove that or your AI is built with the appropriate data, and that data is intact. And then I do think you're going to see other things where you might have private AIs, and then even that is going to take like data being stored on the network and in perpetuity. You're going to want to keep all this data somewhere for a long time and have it be immutable, verifiable, and programmable. And that's where Filecoin plays, the perfect complement to what AI is trying to achieve. And so, like, none of this reality is here yet, and people aren't really thinking of the problems that you're going to have with data in this future state. Everyone's just excited that AI is here. But when you understand the mechanics of how these things are going to scale and go into everyone's organization or into their personal use, then like what you do about the data and where the data lives, how the data lives becomes a really important topic. From what I've heard, I am not a policy expert, but I've talked to a lot of lawyers, policy experts, and entrepreneurs who are focused on the space. They say AI regulation, at least in the United States, is going to come harder and faster than anything we've ever seen in technology before. The foundation for these policies have already been established in the EU and in the US. So it's not like you have to do net new policy. You just have to build on top of the policies that are already there. So I expect that as soon as you're going to see the conversations ramp up significantly in 2024, could be even a political issue you see in the presidential campaigns. But like in 2025, for sure, the AI regulation conversation is going to be intense. Yeah, so inside the Filecoin ecosystem, there's been a ton of change within 2023. First and foremost, on the exciting side, I've seen so much specialization in Filecoin. And what that means is people are finding their specific way to add value to the ecosystem, and they're focusing on that specific niche, and they're outsourcing everything else. Now, what you get when you have all these specialists is that you find a way to be even more competitive in the market. This is where you get the rate and pace of innovation, because you don't have single organizations trying to do a lot of things. You have one organization trying to do one single thing very well. And the ecosystem has evolved to the point where if you don't want to do something, there's someone who will offer that to you as a service. And that only increases specialization and only increases the rate of innovation that the ecosystem can achieve. So I look at 2023 and we've seen this shift from organizations trying to be everything to this one of specialization. And I think that construct is what is going to allow Filecoin to out innovate other Web 2 providers, as long as it can continue to grow more participants, more entrants, more solutions. That's where it gets really exciting for Filecoin going. I have to acknowledge, like 2023 in Filecoin has been an extremely difficult year. It's been a crypto bear market. We've all, like anyone in this industry, has felt it and experienced it. And with that, you get attrition, you get frustration, emotional roller coasters. In Filecoin alone, we've gone from 18 exabytes of capacity to just below 10 in under a year. The economics have been extremely challenging. People, it's hard to stay in this game. So like probably my primary role at the foundation is to constantly help the network with conviction. Conviction is showing them like, what does the future look like? Who can you collaborate with? How do you put solutions together to really create competitive differentiation? And more and more the focus has been on like, how do you reduce cost? How do you reduce revenues? Increase revenue. And in a bear market, like these concepts become extremely important. So you have to navigate from a community standpoint to make sure your builders keep building and that the macro narrative that is Filecoin isn't lost. Because at the end of the day, the macro narrative and principles that make Filecoin an amazing opportunity for people, whether you're an entrepreneur, investor, builder, doesn't matter, client, none of that has changed. And as long as that macro narrative hasn't changed, the reason you got into this game in the first place, then that should allow you to power through a bear market. But bear markets are extremely difficult. Yeah, so there's a couple of priorities that I have and the foundation has. It's one is we're really making sure that the software providers who are building on our ecosystem, such as Ghost Drive, Lighthouse, who are here in FILBangalore today, they can be successful because they are providing a user interface that people are familiar with, that makes sense, that show the possibilities of Filecoin rather than just telling and what you can do in a command line. Command line is very hard to create emotional connection to the product and solution you're offering. So let's get these software providers out there and scale. We want to spread the word from Filecoin as a real viable, that Web3 decentralized storage is a viable alternative to the Web2 incumbents out there. And so we're trying to work with, MSPs, VARs, GSIs about, these are the buckets of organizations who have large client bases where they already sell IT services. How do we become part of their portfolio and have them promote our Filecoin as a solution for them on our behalf? And then finally, it's about making the AI use cases real. We talk about AI, I talk about AI, but I want multiple stories of showing and telling about, hey, this is Filecoin with this AI solution, and we are showing that like, hey, we're being used by these trading sets because we're verifiable and immutable. And we're actually differentiating AI training sets through Filecoin. And if you can get that branding and that connection solidified within AI, and we can show that story versus just talking about it, I think that's going to let people know that Filecoin and AI is legitimate and for real and just getting started.